Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, December 31st. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma, in for Maya Trabulsi. With just hours until the new year, San Diego County is seeing a record number of COVID-19 cases. As KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman shows us, many are still searching for places to get tested this weekend.
We've actually been looking to get tests for a couple of days, and she actually got one yesterday, and it was a good, hour plus wait. And we were just driving down the street here and saw it and flipped a quick U-turn and came in, and we're done.
There's no doubt about it. The demand for testing in San Diego is way up. But over this holiday weekend, today and tomorrow, all the popular county sites are closed. So people are having to get creative to find ways to get tested. At the Santa Fe Depot Transit Station downtown Friday, people were lining up for free tests thanks to a partnership with the Metropolitan Transit System.
With MTS, we like to serve the underserved community. So the patients that we do, we take everyone. So regardless of immigration status, regardless of insurance.
Transit testing centers will not be open over the holiday weekend, but they were one of the few no-cost locations still open downtown Friday.
They're all closed.
Tessie Cranford and Alfredo Ramirez got tested here along with their daughter. The couple say they might have been exposed over the holidays and are not going out to ring in the new year.
We don't want to spread it. Just per se, because we can be asymptomatic and we might have it and we don't know.
County health officials reported just under 6,000 positive tests on Thursday. That's a new pandemic daily case record, and that number does not include any of the rapid tests that San Diegans have been taking at home. In a statement, a county spokesperson said in the face of rising numbers of infections, the county is urging people to limit New Year's parties to small groups of vaccinated and boosted individuals.
What about New Year's plans? You guys going out or anything?
No, we're staying locked down. Yeah.
We've been close contact, so
we think we're okay at this point, but still, we're not going to go out and do anything.
We also saw testing lines at the COVID clinic downtown. They offer rapid results, but for a price.
Everybody's making a business out of it.
Pradeep is visiting from San Jose and was exposed to someone who tested positive. He's traveling internationally soon and says he paid $299 for a rapid test here.
I already postponed my flight, but I just wanted to make sure that I am still positive or negative. I do need to know that. And given the time frame, right, I thought I wanted to get to know it in a very short time. So I booked this slot, but it's pretty expensive.
He's hoping to get the cost reimbursed by his insurance. Local healthcare systems say they are also getting swamped with people looking for tests. At Sharp Healthcare, officials are currently limiting testing for those at the highest risk. That includes people with underlying medical conditions and those over 65. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
New Year's Eve is a COVID test date for San Diego Unified students given home kits to use during holiday vacation. Every student was sent home with 2 self-swab tests to be used today and then again Monday morning before returning to in-person classes. KPBS education reporter MG Perez checked in with one family following those instructions.
5-year-old Adam Hernandez likes to sit and swing with his mother's help here at Ward Canyon Park in Normal Heights. Nicole Hernandez is protective of her son, who is living with autism.
Oh, he's very happy-go-lucky.
Nicole has worked as a certified nursing assistant. She's fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and committed to keeping Adam safe. He got his first Pfizer shot yesterday. Testing him for COVID is more of a challenge.
Having to go to these different pop-up places and him not knowing the people that are administering the test is very difficult. He'll have meltdowns, and of course we have to have it for him to go back to school.
Adam is in kindergarten, and his older sister Carla is a freshman at Hoover High School.
Hold on. Other one, come on.
Nicole brought to the park this morning the home test kits her children were given at school before Christmas. The instructions are for students to test for COVID today and then again Monday morning before showing up at school. Carla is okay with it.
I feel like there's less of a chance for me to get COVID. I mean, there's still a chance and everything, but being safe, like getting the vaccine and wearing your mask, it's like less likely.
The home test kits are not mandatory. San Diego Unified School officials are hoping that parents will follow instructions and test their children before returning to classes on Monday. More than 98,000 kits were sent home before winter break.
The more that people can test, the better. Knowledge is power.
Susan Barndollar is the district's director of nursing and wellness. She says students who test positive at home for COVID cannot go to school Monday.
We have a clinic at the Ed Center where they can go and have a follow-up PCR test, because these are rapid tests, or they can call their doctor. We just want them to not come to school, report it, and follow up.
Back at the park, Carla has a negative test result for COVID-19. She'll test again before heading back to Hoover Monday. Meanwhile, Nicole will do her best to get Adam tested later at home. For now, he's much more interested in his last few days of fun before vacation ends. Hi! MG Perez, KPBS News.
The holidays have always been a chaotic time at the airport, but that's especially true now with COVID and storms disrupting travel plans. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more on what travelers faced today.
I had to get there like 2 to 3 hours early.
Michaela Arbalez says she arrived for her flight hours ahead of time. She traveled to San Diego for New Year's, something she had long been waiting for, and there was no way she was missing her flight.
Yeah, we were checking for like weeks. We were like, we hope it doesn't get canceled.
We spoke to one couple whose flight to the East Coast had been canceled 3 days in a row. Many flights at the San Diego International Airport have either been canceled or delayed. As of Friday afternoon, nearly 60 flights were delayed and 10 were canceled. That's according to Flight Tracker. Nationwide, there have been more than 9,000 flight cancellations and more than 45,000 delays since Christmas Eve. The main reasons are winter weather and COVID cases among staff. One airline worker told KPBS that a handful of her coworkers had tested positive for COVID. The Transportation Security Administration has also reported on its website more than 1,700 active COVID cases among workers. Rebecca Schwartz, another traveler from Massachusetts, says she's just trying to get home, but it's unclear when that will be.
It was fine coming out here, but our flight is already... This flight is delayed, so we're going to miss our connecting flight, and we know it's the last one out of the night, so we're a little worried.
But even with all the obstacles travelers are facing, many are just looking forward to the new year, even if that means bringing it in at the airport. We came across one woman who had luck on her side.
We left on Christmas Eve, and we're coming back on the eve. And yeah, both ways. It was like quick through check-ins, quick through everything.
Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
For people in addiction recovery, holiday parties can be hard. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne tells us some organizations offer safe alternatives for people choosing a sober lifestyle.
Ironmonger's Gym in San Marcos will close early on New Year's Eve for a party. But they won't be popping champagne. The 5,000 square foot facility is hosting a sober New Year's Eve party that's open to the public. Mike Delgado, a trainer at Ironmonger's Gym, says he wanted to offer an alternative to the recovery support program meetings, which go for hours well into the night.
They have like the marathon meetings, and that's cool if you're at that level. But when you first start this, sitting in a room for 24 hours, hearing people tell you what you can and can't do for the rest of your life can be overwhelming. So I just want to offer something more fun.
Delgado began using drugs when he was 10, became addicted by 13, and sought treatment when he turned 27. He knows firsthand how hard parties can be for someone in recovery.
Any kind of celebration really would be hard, but especially around the holidays, because what I'm still used to doing everything under the influence and everyone else around you, everything. So like I did shows growing up, like playing music. I didn't know how to do anything sober. And the only thing that was really offered to me then was like, oh, well, why don't you go to a meeting? Okay, well, I've been to enough of those.
Delgado says sometimes the stories he heard during meetings would trigger him and make him want to use drugs again. Brandon O'Connell trains with Delgado and is also living a sober life.
I think places like Ironmonger's gyms and other places that open their doors up to sober people to come in, it kind of breaks that stigma of like, I don't have to go to a rehab, I don't have to go to a sober living to get my sober holiday party in. You know what I mean? I can just come to this gym and I can meet like-minded people, and everyone here might not be sober, you know what I mean? But the environment is a sober environment.
Raven Martinez is also in recovery and trains at Ironmonger's gym. She says sober events take away the pressure of turning down alcohol or drugs at parties.
Being in a place like this, a safe space, you don't really have to push back. You're already coming into the situation where people are understanding and people are more open-minded.
Food, non-alcoholic drinks, weight training, and karaoke will take place from 9 p.m. until midnight. While health officials are advising people not to gather in large groups due to COVID, Delgado says he has enough space for people to spread out and will keep doors open for airflow. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The law to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in landfills takes effect tomorrow. KPBS reporter Melissa May talked with 2 local organizations that will be impacted.
The SB 1383 law was passed in 2016, but takes effect on January 1st, 2022. It's a statewide effort to reduce emissions of short-lived climate pollutants in landfills by reducing disposal of organic waste.
The new law is really rational and has a lot of common sense to it. So that as the foundation, and the idea that we can recycle rather than throw things away is probably a lot healthier for our society.
Bob Harrington is the owner of Specialty Produce, one of the largest food service and retail fresh produce suppliers in San Diego, and a business that has to comply with SB 1383. But business will continue as usual for them because they've had waste reduction procedures in place for more than a decade.
We decided to really look at a way of making sure that everything that comes in through the back door is useful. And if we don't deliver it to a restaurant or to a customer, where can we place it? So we started working with local farms that grow pigs.
According to CalRecycle, our state throws away about 1.8 billion unsold still fresh meals a year. To cut waste that causes landfill methane emissions, all wholesalers, grocery stores, and other food businesses must donate their surplus of still fresh food to hunger relief organizations like Feeding San Diego and the San Diego Food Bank.
And then we work with the San Diego Food Bank, and we have a schedule of pickups daily. Anything that we have that can be consumed by humans goes into a particular waste not section. We call it our waste not program, so we don't waste.
By requiring food generators to reduce the amount of food they throw away into the landfills, that then provides more edible food that we at Feeding San Diego can rescue and in turn distribute out to the people in San Diego.
Patty O'Connor is the Chief Supply Chain Officer for Feeding San Diego and says they've been rescuing food for almost 15 years and have almost 800 food pickups a week.
We have about 400 partners throughout San Diego that distribute our food. About 160 of them are actually helping us direct rescue. So they will go to, say, an Albertsons and pick up the food that morning that's been designated for pickup. And then they'll bring it back to their community.
The one major adjustment Feeding San Diego has had to make is making sure they have enough resources.
We are trying to staff up and just get more trucks, get more volunteers, and help save as much food as possible.
The goal of SB 1383 is to reduce 75% of landfilled organic waste and increase edible food recovery by 20% by 2025. Penalties for not complying with the new law include fines between $500 and $10,000 a day, depending on the violation. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Many of the lowest paid workers across California are about to get a raise. The state's minimum wage hits $15 per hour in the new year. That's $1 more than the current rate. The pay raise applies to businesses with 26 or more employees. California's minimum wage has risen steadily since 2017, when it was around $10. Global supply chain issues helped lead to inflation not seen in decades. And as Jen Sullivan reports, economic experts say the high prices will likely stick around in 2022.
From the supermarket to the gas pump, ongoing supply chain problems and surging post-COVID demand are driving up prices in 2022.
We're seeing the highest inflation that we've seen in
almost 40 years.
The latest food price index from the United Nations found global food prices are at the highest level in a decade, and experts worry continued disruptions from the pandemic, like labor shortages, high costs for shipping, and fertilizer, could make things worse.
Those prices have gone up quite a bit, doubled, tripled some of those fertilizer prices. Farmers face a lot of difficulties getting the things that they need to produce.
Also likely returning next year, more pain at the pump. While prices have fallen recently, a new Gas Buddy forecast predicts prices may climb to almost $4 a gallon by Memorial Day.
The economy is very strong and gasoline demand is going to be strong along with it. And that's likely behind the push, the increase in gas prices that we're anticipating for the year ahead.
Meanwhile, prices for electronics, clothes, and furniture could also jump next year. That's according to a UN report that found prices for those products could rise by more than 10% globally due to high shipping costs. Economists warn COVID-related production shutdowns could scramble supply chains even further.
We're not going to shut down here, but China, they'll shut down. And if China shuts down, that has impacts on all those supply chains that originate in Asia.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Here's a look at our weather headlines as we start the new year. Any lingering showers this evening will diminish, and we'll have a dry start to the new year. Tumbling temperatures will be with us. Cooler air is coming in on gusty winds tonight, and astronomically high tides this weekend, so there could be some minor coastal flooding at the times of high tide. Here we see the wind advisories. They'll continue past midnight into the early morning hours. These winds will gradually diminish, but the flow does turn offshore. Looking at our forecast for tonight, breezy this evening with plenty of clouds around. Temperatures in the lower 50s. There could be a shower in spots overnight tonight, but many areas drying out. And we'll be looking at some brisk winds. Temperatures really cooling off, too. We'll see some 30s in Ramona and Mount Laguna, lower 40s, Borrego Springs over towards Oceanside. Saturday, well, it should be a dry day, but it'll be quite cool in our area. We'll see the return of some sunshine, and we'll be looking at temperatures hovering in the 50s and the 60s up here in the mountains, chilly 30s. Sunday, another dry day is expected, so we have a couple of dry days ahead. Next system should pass more to our north, maybe bring some clouds in during times of next week. So here's a look at our forecast. The coast, we'll see the return of sunshine. It'll be a dry but cool weekend, and the clouds come back in on Tuesday. Into the inland sections, we'll be looking at plenty of sunshine, but here again, cool, and clouds rolling in Tuesday. Mountain areas looking kind of chilly. We'll have some sunshine, clouds coming back next week, not quite as cold. And as we take you to the deserts, New Year coming in dry but quite cool. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso. Happy New Year.
Hollywood is mourning the loss of its golden girl. Betty White died today, just weeks away from celebrating her 100th birthday. The beloved actress's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is turning into a memorial as fans stop by to pay their respects. Reporter Stephanie Elam looks back on White's life and career that spanned generations.
It's a good day. How can anything go wrong if it's a good day from morning till night?
Betty White's cheerful Hollywood career began in her teens, and by her 20s, she was a fixture on television with her own daily talk show. Ahead of the times, White co-founded her own production company in 1952. She worked on a variety of television and film projects over the years before turning a 1973 guest appearance on The Mary Tyler Moore Show into a permanent role. White was a scene stealer as the man-hungry Sue Ann Nivens.
I think a man should be virile and macho and just reeking with masculinity.
Her second signature role was on the beloved series The Golden Girls as the comical Rose Nyland.
And they attack chickens. I don't care about chickens, Rose. She didn't call me chicken. She called me peacock. You look more like a chicken when you're angry. Your neck sticks out.
With the Golden Girls, I got to play with those silly ladies every week, and I loved Rose Nyland. She was positive, and she wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but she wasn't dumb. She was just terminally naive.
Off-screen, White married 3 times. She called her third husband, TV host Alan Ludden, the love of her life. They were together almost 20 years before Ludden died of stomach cancer in 1981.
And you never remarried, huh?
Nope. When you've had the best, who needs the rest?
A devoted pet lover, White was a longtime advocate for animal welfare. She called television her hobby and animals her work. Yet her hobby kept her busy. White's talents as an actress and comedian were in demand well into her senior years. Following a grassroots Facebook campaign in 2010, White became the oldest person ever to host Saturday Night Live at the age of 88.
You know what's an accomplishment? Staying awake on the toilet.
The show earned huge ratings and White her 7th Emmy Award. Later that year, White took on another role on TV Land's Hot in Cleveland.
I thought that you weren't coming. Well, I ran out of vodka, and I thought I'd come over here and freshen up my drunk.
In her 90s, White was as popular as ever with several ongoing film and television projects.
How lucky can a 90-year-old broad be? I have no idea. And I'm still working. That's the thing that's such a thrill.
Love for her warm smile, wit, and off-color humor, White didn't miss a beat when asked if there were any Hollywood projects she'd still like to do.
I usually answer that question with Robert Redford.
She's so big they couldn't even.
No, I think I've been lucky enough to do just about so much that if I start complaining about anything under the sun, throw me out of the business.
The Rose Bowl parade returns to Pasadena tomorrow. Despite surging COVID cases, the parade and accompanying football game are still on for New Year's Day. Attendees must show proof of vaccination or a negative test result. Masks are also required. Some San Diegans are taking part in the festivities. The San Diego Zoo will have a float in the parade, and Mira Mesa High School's marching band will be performing. As we close out 2021, we're revisiting some of our favorite stories of the past year. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen takes us into the basement of the Kellogg Library at Cal State San Marcos to uncover a treasure trove of San Diego beer history.
Well, it's no secret that San Diego loves its craft beer, but not many people know that the history of San Diego brewing sits inside that building right there.
It's known as the Brewkive, and it's the only one dedicated to San Diego's brewing scene. Located deep in the basement of Kellogg Library, it's a treasure trove of the region's beer history. There are bottle caps, coasters, tap handles, and more. And here's the lady whose job it is to archive them all.
I'm Judith Downey, and I am the History and Special Collections Librarian at Cal State San Marcos.
She's also the curator of the Brewkive, but most people just know her as.
And they'll say, oh, you're the beer historian. And, you know, they're always fascinated. I always try to have some kind of little hidden gem of knowledge that, you know, either busts a myth or corrects a misperception.
One of the most popular misconceptions about San Diego's brewing industry is that it started in the 1980s, but it all started in 1868 with Christian Dupler's San Diego Brewing Company.
This is kind of a secured storage area.
As Downey walks around the collection, showing off things she's collected or people have donated to the archive, you can sense how much she loves her work.
I've also got things like, and I keep saying this is the CSUSM collection, but I feel so invested in this because it's such a passion for me that I always say my collection, and it's really not.
The collection has pint glasses adorned with logos and artworks from various brewers. Some have gone out of business, others show the evolution of their logos. And the collection keeps on growing.
That's about it for this room. We do have another room down on the other end of the building that I'll take you to.
The idea for the Brewkive started as early as 2015, around the time when Cal State San Marcos was starting its beer-making certificate program, dubbed Ingebeering. It was the brainchild of Jennifer Fabi. She's the dean of the university library. As the San Diego craft beer scene exploded into a billion-dollar industry, Fabi thought it was a good idea to preserve that history. Because, as it turns out, nobody in town was.
We knew that in order to do that, we would need some resources, and we wanted to make sure that we had a collection that was very exciting to both the public and also to those internal to the university.
Fabi formed an advisory group comprised of local brewers and a filmmaker who's done a documentary on San Diego brewing to see what the archive should collect. It was the advisory group that came up with the name.
At first, we called it the Barchive because, of course, that rhymes with archive. But those people on the advisory committee, they said that won't do. Brewchive is better. So we trademarked Brewchive.
The Brewchive also benefited because a lot of brewers are passionate about their beers, so they collect a lot of keepsakes, such as Greg Cook, the founder of Stone Brewing. He donated more than 600 Bankers boxes full of stuff to the archive.
I collected a lot of stuff from Stone history along the way, and by a lot of stuff, I mean a lot of stuff, as well as from other craft breweries and places I've been, etc., etc. And I had just been collecting this in a spare room in my house, and it was overwhelmed. It was packed. I had so much stuff.
So when he was approached by the Brewchive, he jumped at the idea. He called it a symbiotic relationship. The Brewchive gets to preserve the collection, and he gets it out of the house. It's the largest donation to the Brewchive to date, though Downey says the collection is on permanent loan from Cook. While the majority of the Brewchive is dedicated to what Downey calls the third wave of San Diego brewing, the period from 1987 until 2020. She is now working on the fourth wave, the post-pandemic period. Downey is also working on preserving the history of women's involvement in the San Diego brewing industry.
I'm really trying to get women's stories because women's history is still not well represented.
Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening and a Happy New Year.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.